They thought I was nothing, just a shadow to be tucked away. At my sister Claire's wedding, they didn't just seat me by the janitor's closet, they buried me there, believing I'd stay silent, invisible. But they had no idea I held the key to their empire, and I was about to pull the plug. My name's Lila Harper, the one they never saw coming. While they fawned over Claire's spotlight, I built Nexlify Solutions, a $2 billion tech giant, in the dark. They sent me an invitation with my name misspelled, Lila, not Lila, no +1, no respect. For years, they called me too plain, too stubborn, my dreams too small for their grand plans. But every late-night coding, every sacrifice, forged something they couldn't imagine. That table by the closet? It wasn't just an insult, it was their mistake. They thought they owned the room, but I was about to light it up. Stick around, because this wedding's about to unravel, and the truth? It's sharper than any knife. My name is Lila Harper, the daughter they never quite understood. While my sister Claire basked in the glow of Raleigh's elite, I was the odd one out, the girl who'd rather tinker with circuits than wear a tiara. Growing up, I won science fairs, built robots in our garage, but my parents, George and Margaret, saw it as a quirk, not a calling. Unladylike, they'd say, their eyes fixed on Claire, the pageant queen destined for greatness. They wanted me to fit their mold, pearls, polite smiles, a life scripted for approval. I wanted more. I wanted to create. Years later, I built Nexlify Solutions from a cramped Austin apartment, fueled by coffee and defiance. Today, it's worth $2 billion, a tech empire born from nights I coded until dawn. My family? They never asked what I was working on. They assumed I was chasing ghosts, too plain, too stubborn to matter. Meanwhile, Claire climbed the social ladder, her every move a headline on their perfect Instagram feeds. Her engagement to Sophie Caldwell, heiress to the Peakpulse dynasty, was their crowning achievement. My parents practically bowed at the altar of that match. Then the invitation arrived. Gold embossed, elegant, except for one detail, my name was wrong. Lila, not Lila. No +1, no nod to the life I'd built. It sat on my desk, a paper cut to the heart. They didn't just misspell my name, they erased who I was. For years, I'd been the punchline at their dinner parties, the daughter who didn't get it. My mother's sighs, my father's lectures, they all said the same thing, Claire's path was the one that counted. Marry well, shine bright, play the game. I'd chosen a different board. I could have skipped the wedding. Part of me wanted to. But another part, quieter, sharper, needed to go. Not for their approval, I'd long stopped craving that. I wanted to see their world, the one they thought they owned, and stand in it as me. Nexlify wasn't just a company, it was proof they'd underestimated me. Every circuit I designed, every deal I closed, was a brick in a fortress they couldn't touch. Claire's wedding wasn't just a celebration, it was their stage, their moment to flaunt perfection. They had no idea I was about to rewrite the script. That misspelled invitation wasn't an accident. It was a message, one they'd been sending my whole life, you don't belong. My childhood flashed back, Claire's trophies on the mantle, my projects shoved in a closet. They celebrated her every step, while my victories were met with shrugs. Why can't you be more like your sister, they'd ask. But I wasn't running from their expectations, I was building beyond them. Nexlify wasn't just my job, it was my answer. As I packed for the wedding, I didn't feel anger, not anymore. I felt clarity. They thought they knew the game, but I'd been playing a different one. That table by the janitor's closet? It was waiting for me. So was their reckoning. They thought they could keep me in the shadows forever. They were wrong. Keep watching, because this story's just getting started, and the lights are about to come on. The Asheville estate glittered like a crown jewel, all chandeliers and manicured lawns, a stage for my sister Claire's perfect day. I stepped out in a Carolina Herrera dress, sleek, understated, my armor for a world that never saw me. The air buzzed with whispers, guests gushing over Claire's match with Sophie Caldwell, the heiress whose family bankrolled Peakpulse Enterprises. My parents, George and Margaret, were in their element, orbiting Sophie's father, Edward, like moths to a flame. Me? I was invisible to them, just as I'd always been. My mother spotted me first. Her air kiss barely grazed my cheek, her perfume sharper than her smile. "You look so plain," she said, her eyes already drifting back to the crowd. Plain. The word stung, a reminder of every time they'd dismissed me. I clutched the invitation, "Lila, not Lila, it's weight heavier than the paper." My father didn't even look my way, too busy laughing with Edward, his voice thick with the promise of future favors. They were building their empire, and I wasn't part of the blueprint. At the check-in table, I searched for my name. Nothing. The attendant fumbled, her smile tight. "There's been a mix-up," she said, pointing to table 32, tucked by the janitor's closet. A cramped table, no centerpiece, linen too short, the service door swinging behind it. My heart sank, but not from surprise. This was their message, carved in every slight, every sidelong glance: "You don't belong." Claire glided over, radiant in satin, her smile a polished blade. "Your low-key vibe fits here," she said, gesturing to the closet. "We saved the real seats for Peak Pulse VIPs." Her words cut deeper than she knew. I'd heard them before: my dreams too small, my life too ordinary. They didn't know I'd built Nexlify Solutions, a $2 billion empire, while they toasted Claire's every step. They didn't know I held the strings to Peak Pulse's future. I stood there, the hum of jazz and clinking glasses fading, my pulse steady. This wasn't just a table, it was a declaration. They thought they could bury me in their shadow, keep me small, keep me silent. But I wasn't the girl they remembered, the one who'd shrink to fit their story. Every late-night coding, every deal I'd closed, had sharpened me into something else. Table 32 wasn't an accident, it was their arrogance laid bare. I slipped my phone from my clutch, fingers hovering over the screen. One message could change everything. They thought this wedding was their triumph, a showcase of their power. They were wrong. This was my moment, the spark before the fire. I didn't come for revenge. I came for truth. They'd seated me by the closet, thinking I'd stay there, out of sight, out of mind. But I'd seen their game, and I knew how to play. The room sparkled with their illusions, but illusions are fragile. Keep watching, because the truth is about to break through, and when it does, their perfect world will crack wide open. Table 32 wasn't just a seat, it was their final verdict. They thought they could bury me by the janitor's closet, keep me small, keep me silent. But I wasn't their shadow anymore. My fingers grazed my phone, steady despite the sting of Claire's smirk. Years of their dismissal, every "you're too plain, every "be more like your sister," burned in my chest. I'd built Nexlify Solutions, a $2 billion empire, while they toasted their own illusions. Now, it was time to pull the curtain down. I typed a message to Maya, my assistant. "Cancel the Peak Pulse contract. All $80 million of it." Sent. The air shifted, though the jazz still played. Claire approached, her satin gown gleaming, Sophie at her side, both radiating triumph. "Enjoying your cozy corner, Lila?" Claire taunted, her laugh sharp. Sophie chimed in, "It suits your logistics job, right?" Their eyes sparkled with the cruelty of those who think they've won. I turned my phone toward them, the Nexlify logo glowing. "Logistics? No. I'm Lila Harper, founder and CEO of Nexlify Solutions." Their smiles froze. Claire's brow furrowed, as if the words refused to land. "You're joking," Sophie scoffed, but her voice wavered. I tilted my head. "Am I? That $80 million semiconductor deal Peak Pulse needs for its new product line? I just canceled it." Claire's face drained of color, her glass trembling. "That's not possible," she stammered. I didn't blink. "Check your email." She fumbled for her phone, Sophie peering over her shoulder. The screen lit up with Maya's confirmation: contract terminated. Sophie's eyes widened, her polished facade cracking. "This is a stunt," she hissed. I stepped closer, my voice low, deliberate. A stunt? No. This is accountability. Edward Caldwell, Sophie's father, pushed through the crowd, his jaw tight. He'd overheard enough. What's going on? He demanded. I met his gaze. Mr. Caldwell, I'm Lila Harper, Nexlify's founder. And I'm not done. I paused, letting the weight settle. Claire's been siphoning Peakpulse funds into offshore accounts for her own investments. Shell companies, fake vendors, millions masked as marketing costs. I have the records. Gasps rippled through the guests. Phones emerged, red recording dots blinking. Claire shook her head, voice rising. She's lying. But her panic betrayed her. I turned to Edward. I also control Beacon Ventures, which holds Peakpulse stat. One call, and I trigger a full financial audit. Your choice. His face hardened, realization dawning. He knew the deal was dead. He knew the headlines were coming. Sophie grabbed Claire's arm, her voice a hiss. You used my family's company? Claire stammered, I didn't, it wasn't like that. But her words drowned in the growing murmurs. A guest whispered, that's Lila Harper? Nexlify's Lila? Another phone flashed, the moment spreading like wildfire. My parents stood frozen, Margaret's hand clutching her pearls, George's eyes darting, searching for an exit that didn't exist. This wasn't about the chair. This was about a lifetime of being erased, of being told I didn't matter. I looked at Claire, her perfect world unraveling. You thought I was nothing, I said, my voice calm but unyielding. You thought you could laugh and I'd stay quiet. You were wrong. Sophie's mascara smudged, her composure gone. Edward turned away, already dialing his team, his empire teetering. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The truth was loud enough. The quartet's music faltered, the room holding its breath. They'd seated me by the closet, thinking I'd stay there, out of sight, out of power. But I'd been watching, waiting, building. Their stage was crumbling, and I was the one holding the spotlight. Stay with me, because this wedding's about to fall apart, and the fallout will change everything. The music stopped, but the silence screamed louder. My sister Claire's perfect wedding shattered, her satin gown no longer a symbol of triumph but a fragile shield. She stood there, mascara streaking, clutching Sophie's arm as if it could hold her world together. Sophie, the heiress who'd mocked me minutes ago, stormed off, her heels clicking like a countdown. Edward Caldwell, her father, was already on his phone, his voice low, frantic, trying to salvage Peakpulse Enterprises from the wreckage I'd unleashed. I'd cancelled their $80 million deal with Nexlify, exposed Claire's offshore schemes, and revealed I controlled their debt through Beacon Ventures. The room knew it, their empire was crumbling. Guests whispered, their champagne forgotten. Phones glowed, videos of my words spreading like wildfire, 5 million views and counting, headlines screaming Raleigh elite rocked by wedding scandal. Claire's eyes darted, searching for an ally, but none came. She'd built her life on lies, siphoning Peakpulse funds into secret accounts, thinking no one would notice. I did. I always had. My parents, George and Margaret, stood frozen, their curated joy replaced by dread. Margaret's hand hovered over her mouth, her pearls no longer a status symbol but a weight. George sank into a chair, his tie askew, his laughter for Edward long gone. I didn't flinch. This wasn't about the table by the janitor's closet anymore. It was about every year they'd erased me, every time they'd called me less while propping Claire up. Lila, please, Claire choked, her voice breaking. Not here. Not like this. Her plea was hollow, a last grasp at control. I met her gaze, steady, unyielding. You made this stage, Claire. You seated me in the shadows, laughed when I asked for help. Now you're standing in mine. Her lips trembled, but no words came. She'd never seen me, not the girl who built Nexlify from nothing, not the woman who'd outplayed her. Sophie's family moved fast. Within days, they cut ties with Claire, scrubbing her from their charity gala, their social media, their world. The annulment papers followed, filed before the wedding flowers wilted. Claire's fall was swift, brutal. She took a junior analyst job in Charlotte, a far cry from the partner suites she'd boasted about. The headlines didn't lie, she'd gambled her future and lost. My parents tried to defend her, but their voices faltered. Margaret's excuses dissolved into silence, George's eyes wouldn't meet mine. They'd bet on the wrong daughter, and the truth was a mirror they couldn't escape. The crowd watched, breathless. A guest murmured, "That's Lila Harper? The Nexlify founder?" Another nodded, their phone still recording. The ripple grew, whispers, glances, recognition. I didn't need their gasps or their applause. I'd spent years building in the dark, proving myself to no one but me. This moment wasn't vengeance, it was clarity. They thought they could write me out of their story, but I'd rewritten theirs. Edward swore under his breath, his calls growing desperate. Peakpool's stock would tank by morning, and he knew it. My mother finally spoke, her voice thin. "Lila, why?" I turned to her, calm but cold. "Why?" "Because you let me be the punchline. You celebrated Claire's lies while calling my truth a failure. This isn't about a chair. It's about a lifetime of choosing wrong." Her face cracked, the weight of her choices settling in. George's hand shook, his empire of favors collapsing with Claire's. They'd built their lives on appearances, and I'd torn the facade down. The quartet stayed silent, the air thick with unspoken questions. I slipped my phone into my clutch, my work done. They'd seated me by the closet, thinking I'd stay small, stay quiet. But I'd been watching, waiting, building. Their world was unraveling, thread by thread, and I was the one holding the scissors. Stay tuned, because the dust hasn't settled, and what comes next will redefine this family forever. The wedding was over, but the silence lingered. Claire's empire of lies had collapsed, Peakpulse was reeling, and my parents, George and Margaret, were left grasping at the pieces. I'd walked away from that Asheville estate, my truth laid bare, no longer the daughter they could ignore. Weeks passed, the viral videos fading from headlines, but the fallout carved new paths. Then, one Monday, my assistant Maya buzzed my Austin office. "Your mother's here," she said. I paused, the weight of years settling in my chest. Margaret stepped into my world, glass walls, framed patents, my old workbench scarred from Nexlify's early days. She looked smaller, her pale blue blazer frayed at the edges, her confidence worn thin. "The receptionist didn't recognize me," she said, voice fragile. "I had to show ID." I nodded. "Security's tight since the acquisition." She sat, uninvited, her clutch trembling in her lap. "We were wrong, Lila," she whispered. "About you, about everything. We thought success was Claire, suits, smiles, status. We didn't see what you built." Her words hung there, raw, unguarded. For the first time, she wasn't performing. I studied her, the lines on her face deeper than I remembered, not from age but from collapse. "Are you here to apologize?" I asked, voice even, "or because you need help?" She flinched, tears welling. "We deserve that. But you're our daughter. That has to mean something." I leaned back, unflinching. "It meant nothing when I needed you. Why should it matter now that I don't?" Her breath caught, a single tear falling. "We're proud of you," she said, "even if we don't deserve to be." I didn't answer. Instead, I walked to my cabinet, pulled out a sealed envelope, and placed it before her. "What's this?" she asked, hesitant. "Nexlify's small business program," I said. "Loans, real estate listings, advisors. A chance, not a handout. No shortcuts, no favors, no leaning on the Harper name." Her fingers brushed the envelope, like it might vanish. "You'd help us?" she murmured. I shook my head. "I'm not helping. I'm offering what I never got, a fair shot." She blinked, tears spilling now. Thank you, she whispered, for the chance, for the lesson. She stood, clutching the envelope like a lifeline, and paused at the door. Anything else? She asked, voice small. I met her eyes. That table by the janitor's closet? Best seat in the house. It showed me who you really are. She nodded, silent, and left, her footsteps fading. Months later, she and George opened a small craft store in Durham. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. They showed up every day, rebuilding from the ground up, just as I had. I didn't forgive them, not fully. But I gave them a path, not out of love, but because I could. The workbench stayed in my office, a reminder of where I started, of what I'd overcome. They thought they could keep me small, but I'd built something bigger than their dreams. The story's not over, though. There's one final piece to this puzzle, a lesson carved from the ashes. Stay with me, because what comes next is the heart of it all. The dust settled, but the echoes remained. My parents, George and Margaret, were rebuilding in Durham, their small craft store a humble testament to starting over. Claire, once Raleigh's golden child, was piecing together a quieter life in Charlotte, her annulment a final cut from Sophie's world. I didn't follow their headlines anymore. I didn't need to. My truth had reshaped theirs, and that was enough. In my Austin office, my old workbench still sat, scarred and stubborn, a relic of the nights I built Nexlify solutions from nothing. Visitors asked why I kept it. I never answered. Some truths don't need words. I stopped attending weddings, stopped chasing family reunions. Holiday cards went out, flowers sometimes, but never with a return address. I'd built something louder than any awkward dinner could ever be. Nexlify wasn't just a company, it was my voice, my proof, my stage. Yet, the table by the janitor's closet lingered in my mind, not as an insult, but as a lens. It showed me who'd seat me in the shadows, who'd walk away without a glance. It taught me to see people for who they are, not who they pretend to be. Now, I mentor young dreamers through Nexlify's outreach, kids like I was, too different, too driven, too dismissed. I share my story, not for pity, but to light their way. They don't need to wait for a seat at someone else's table, they can build their own. That's the lesson I carry, the one carved from years of being overlooked. Your worth isn't where others place you, it's in what you create when they turn away. My family thought they could define me, shrink me to fit their story. They were wrong. I didn't just survive their neglect, I thrived beyond it. The closet table was never about revenge. It was about clarity. It showed me their limits, their fragile world built on appearances. I didn't need to tear it down, I just stopped holding it up. Every line of code I wrote, every deal I closed, was a step toward a life they couldn't touch. They wanted me to play their game, but I changed the board. Now, when I look at that workbench, I see more than solder and scars. I see the girl who believed in herself when no one else did. So here's the truth, the one I hope you carry with you: don't wait for their applause. Don't beg for their validation. Build your own empire, brick by brick, in the dark if you have to. Let their words choke them as you rise. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong, it's living so well they can't look away. That table by the janitor's closet? It wasn't my shame. It was their mirror, reflecting a truth they couldn't escape. I walked away, not to forget, but to remember who I am. This story's done, but yours isn't. If you've ever been underestimated, pushed aside, told you're not enough, know this: your moment is coming. Build it. Own it. And when they finally see you, let them eat their words at the table they thought you'd never leave. Share your story below, because the world needs to hear it, and I'm listening.